Hello guys, and great to see you back for another video on the Nashorn. Today I'm going to show you about all the holes that need to be drilled and all the brackets that need to be attached to the sled. It's going to be a long video, so if you want to skip a bit, will be timestamps in the description so you can follow the more interesting points that apply to you. So among others, the elevation part of the gun that needs to be attached with 8 bolts. Here is a plate. I'm also needing to alter this plate, so I'll explain you about that. The bracket for the travel lock for the tone version, that is still on, even on the Nashorn. Probably because then they can still use it to put it on the tone version or the other way around. And in the back there's a travel lock that needs to be attached. So yeah, that's it for this video for today. Hope you enjoy it. So I'm gonna start marking out all the bolt holes. When I was looking at the part and how it fits, and how you have the round shield in front, and it has a plate towards the back, and that plate goes alongside the gun. I don't know if you can see it. Here are the mounting plates for the shield, and that plate goes just a few centimeters past that one on the inside. But then you only have like 325 millimeters. This plate, they should be like this at the underside of the sled, and it's 355. So that will never fit. And also these plates that go on the side are 10 millimeters. So if you take the 320 millimeters that I have, minus 2 times 10 is 300. So the shield can never be wider than 300, otherwise you can't fit it in. So I checked some pictures that I got from a Russian friend Yuri. He was at the Kubinka museum and he took a few great pictures for us. And one was from the front, and you could see that this plate was quite a bit narrower and still fits in between, and also has a little step in, because there will be angle iron that will go on the inside of the plate, so that with the bolts also needs to be going past this. So yeah, I have to take quite a bit off, and then like a step at the bottom. And I still need to take the round part out. I don't know for what reason this is in. It's quite close behind this bracket, so maybe that has something to do with it. This bracket is for the travel lock for the tone version. So yeah, this I have to change. And then of course the bolt holes, all the patterns. I've got the drawings here. These, you probably can't see it, but there's the shim plate in between here with the bolt pattern. And then for the other bracket I just showed you the bolt patterns. And then in the back I have another one. So yeah, plenty of work to do. So I have my little note here. And the total width should be 290 millimeters. So that's minus 65 is 32 and a half per side. I always start at the 10 when I need accurate measurement, because it's more clearly to read than using the edge. But of course on the other side you have to add the 10 centimeters to the measurement you need, or deduct it from the measurement you take on when checking something. Yep, that's correct. So I'm checking if it's parallel, since all sides are cut, so they might not be perfectly straight anymore. And then I need a cutout of 20 by 110 millimeters. So the longer the distance is that you have for checking, the more precise it is, but I only need to cut out this piece. Also, these two holes will go in by 10 millimeters, but they need to be mounted on these brackets, so we'll attach the bracket to the side first and have the hole in it, and then transfer the hole from the hole that's already in the bracket to this piece. Then it's more easy to get it accurate enough. So just a quick mark where I need to cut. So I have the holes drilled, but now is the more difficult part of getting this on the correct position. One side is not a problem, but it has to be equal on two sides. But I think I will do one, then attach this part, and then check this part if it's straight with a square. when then that is all good, then I can drill the other side as well. I think that's the easiest part. Since I'm marking in a circle, I do a light tap first and check it, and then when it's okay I can mark it. And when it's a little bit off, you can put it on in an angle, and then when it needs to go down or up, and then mark it again, and then it moves over a bit. So that's one side. These will be riveted, and this will be bolted. So when drilling by hand, it's often easier to start with a smaller drill, because larger drill takes more effort, and they can also wander off a little bit. So a small drill makes it that a lot easier and more precise. And also the smaller the drill, the higher the RPM. And of course use some cutting oil, then the drill lasts longer. When marking holes that are already drilled on one side, use a full size drill, and then drill till there's a little divot, and then you can use a smaller drill. Of course, checking the measurements. The top is okay. Bottom, yeah. So again the same here, first with the first drill to mark it out. So a few more bolts. For now this all will stay bolted, and then when all the parts are on, this will stay a bolt with a crown nut with a locking pin, and the other two will be replaced by rivets, but I will do that all at the same time. First, these I welded on the inside because you won't see them anyway, and it's a lot easier, then you don't have to make a tool. But for the back end there are some rivets that you can see, so I have to rivet them. Then I will rivet these two, so I have to make a special tool for that. I think that will be a separate video for the making of the tool and the riveting, if that is something what you want to see. So let that know in the comments. That will be this one. And this is completely riveted. Hope you can see it. So that's the bolt pattern. We'll mark it out, drill it, and then place the part in its right position and then drill it into the sled. Put it in the same orientation as the drawing, then there's less of a chance to make mistakes. Since this is all handmade, I'm not trusting any of the edges. So that's one side, and then this pattern times 2. And of course in the end it doesn't matter because I'm hand drilling them. It doesn't really have to be that precise, but since it's a part that has to resemble the original, yeah, we want to get it as good as possible. As you can see, we have a bit of a problem with the height. Also, this part will tip over, so I have something that will fit. And for the drill, I've got this. So I can put the magnet on top of that and then clamp it down. In the future I will make some tabs on it with bolts and threaded holes. Makes it easier. And I can just bolt it down. And I need a shorter drill for this. I had a broken bit earlier, so I think I will resharpen that one and then use it for this part. So, mini drill. Let's see if this will fit. Not much to spare, but a few centimeters, that's more than we need. So, finished. Clean off the burrs a bit and then I can put it on. Part is about 825 millimeters from the front, so from this part to the front of this part. So let's mark that up. It's a tight fit, but with a few clamps it's not a problem. Not there yet, but it's now in an angle. We'll have to fix that first before it's more difficult than now to fix it. And always put tension with the clamp on and then tap it lightly with a hammer to help it along. Almost there. The other side is on the correct position, so I think I will drill one hole, put a bolt in it, and then finish this side. Would be handier if it didn't move that easily. Almost. That's it. If you want to release the clamps quickly, just give them a step down there. So I have to check the back side if that's also touching. And that looks good as well. So now we can drill the rest on the side. So I pre-drilled to get a mark. This is how it looks like. Just a little divot, but that's enough to know where the center is. And then I'll drill with a small drill and then with the same size drill again. Wait. So first two parts in position. Still need to drill the holes on the underside. And of course, when all the parts are on, paint. And I will paint the entire cradle yellow again, as it should become. And then I'll leave the sled in red, so that's better to see what I'm working on. So next part is the bracket at the end. It has a opening at the bottom for the rear travel lock, and it also needs to be riveted down, so I'm gonna mark it up now. always nice to have a light shine in your eyes, but yeah, for the camera, for you guys it's better. Then you can see what I'm doing, well, except on this side. Also a bunch of rivets on the inside. So we have this part, the sled, and then strengthening bracket on the inside. Apparently I made a drawing. I don't know if you can see it here with the holes, 6 holes here and 4 here. But this is a bracket underneath, and these I measured from this side inside the bracket, and then this on the other side, but these are also inside the bracket, so these two are actually the same holes. So you can see how easy it is to make a mistake, and always have to pay attention, because now I marked out these holes and these two, and then the 90 millimeters to these is the same distance to this one, so that must be the same hole. As said before, I will drill all the holes. Of course, we'll clamp it down first that all the seams are tight, then drill it, put bolts in it for now, and then later on in a separate video I will start riveting. So first a few clamps on it to make sure everything is tight. So the bottom is okay. Now the sides. Of course, leave some room for drilling. So here's the biggest opening. We'll clamp that first on the place where I need to drill the hole, but then I can put the bolt in here when I drilled it, and then move the clamp over. We'll put 2 in first, bolt it down, and then we remove the clamp and then the rest. I have been back to Susteren yesterday with a friend of mine for measuring, and there are more rivets all along the sled. So yeah, I couldn't measure everything because this plate was replaced at that gun. So we have to check at other points as well. But for now, all the extra rivets I found we are also going to put in, because yeah, that's part of how it should be. So a few temporary bolts. So when riveting, I will first rivet the open holes, and later on, when they are finished, then I'll take the bolts out, just to make sure nothing moves on me. Of course, I don't have to put bolts in every hole, just to keep the part in the correct position. That's enough. Maybe a few extra just to be sure. So now I'm gonna drill here the bottom one, put a bolt in it, and then I think it should be enough. Take the clamp off and see if the part moved or not. And if it moved, of course, I have to clamp it again and put the bottom bolts in, or at least 1 or 2. If you listen carefully, you can hear when you need extra oil, but it's not always obvious. So just use plenty of oil, but yeah, if it runs off, you know it's too much. Just a few drops per time you oil, that's more than enough. And squeezing nicely together here. Opening is gone. So that's good. Let's take the clamp off and then check the underside. That's reasonably okay. It's a little bit open on one side, but the rest is tight, so that's good. I need to add a few rivets here on both sides. I'm starting from 10 because it's easier to read it than the edge of the ruler. Normally always start from one point and then adding up, otherwise if you keep moving it then you can add small mistakes at every point, but this only 2 points, so that's not too bad. And then of course the center, so that's easier to drill at that point without the drill running off. I did quite some measuring yesterday on rivets, especially on the bottom. The bracket itself, so this part on the underside has 8 bolts, but I thought on this side there were also a few extra bolts, but that's not the case. There's an extra plate in the inside, but will be held by these rivets and by these. And then the front portion does have quite a few extra rivets, especially on the underside, so I have to add those. So now it's for all of these holes to be drilled. I have a few braces in the top that I showed you in other videos to keep this measurement correct. I have one here in the back, but that's in the way, so I have to remove it, and hopefully I will check if this measurement stays okay now that these brackets are on. I think I will drill these holes and put some bolts in it first, so this will be attached to the inside bracket as well, and then I cut this brace out and I can drill the holes in the bottom. When you're pushing, don't push too hard, especially with a thin drill, because then it can snap. Just go by feel. It might look like I'm pushing really hard, but I'm not really pushing that hard. It's just so that I have more control of pushing. So when I tapped it down, I could see it move a little bit, but I deliberately made it a bit more tight, so I have a little bit extra wiggle room, and that was 1 millimeter, and now it's exactly to size, so it's moved only 1 millimeter, so that's good. It's still within acceptable range. Well, actually it's perfect. So now I can drill the rest of the holes, and then it's on to the next part. For the rivets most to the edge, these bolts are in the way, so I'll flip them around. And the rest I can still reach like it is, so that's good. Now I have a burr in the inside from coming through one of the layers. What I do is then start in the beginning of the hole, get some RPM, and then slowly feed in to mill that burr away. With a stronger drill it wouldn't be a problem, but of course you want to save your tools as well. And now I have started with too much pressure and have a burr on the outside, and it's a bit similar, but of course you don't have any guidance of the hole. So you have to try to knock them off this way. So always try start with a lower pressure. I will every now and then feel like this, the air that comes out, how hot it is, and if it's really hot, then I put the drill away to cool down. So last holes are drilled, so this bracket is done. Then I will drill here the elevation part and bolt it down to the sled. It has 4 bolts on one side, 4 bolts on the other side, and 8 bolts on the bottom. I cannot reach them all as it is like this. I have to fully elevate the part, but I will mark everything out, drill what I can, and then later when I need to drill on the bottom side, we'll drill everything at the bottom side at the same time. I hope you can see it with the backlight coming from the outside. This is the drawing I have of the shim plate. I have the measurements here, and I can see where the shim plate is. It's ending at this weld and then starting at this weld. So I can use these measurements and then parallel to the sides to drill these holes. I'm not gonna show it from every side because it's just the same on the other side. For these holes, it's what I said, a bolt connection, not a rivet, and also has a crown nut on the outside. But for now I will put normal M10 bolts in. I don't have the crown nuts here right now, neither the bolts with the holes. So yeah, we can still arrange it later when we have everything put together. If you put normal bolts in it, because getting the right bolts with a hole in it is probably going to be impossible, and then put the crown nut on it and drill through at the correct position. Just in case you're wondering why I didn't put clamps on it, this is pretty tight in it. You could see it in the previous video, so it's more than tight enough so it won't move. But still, I'm gonna put these 2 bolts in and then start drilling the rest. And since this will be a 10 bolt connection, I'm gonna drill a bit larger, so it's always more easily to get the bolts in. So 11 millimeters. Bolts might look a bit long now, but I need to add a ring and then the crown knot, and the crown knot is almost double in length. So if I put 2 knots on it, you can see it's just correct length. So I can leave these bolts in, and then later when the crown knot is on, inside the crown I can drill a hole through for the pin. Before I was thinking of drilling the holes in the bottom when I have to take this part off anyway, but then the barrel will be on and also the cover plate, so will not be able to reach the bolts from the inside. So we'll have to do that earlier. But yeah, I can reach the back ones from here, and I think when I fully elevate, I will check in a minute, I can drill the first set as well. And in front of this set there are another 6 rivets for something that's on the inside, probably for the recoil cylinder, and also the bracket in front needs, that plate needs an extra bracket. But yeah, we'll do one at a time. So I have lifted up the elevation, propped it up with a bar, would put a clamp in front of it so that it can't slide away, as well as something on the floor, maybe even tack weld it, so I can work on the underside. So I have enough room for here drilling all the holes and all the extra rivets there. This plate, when we were measuring yesterday, it has a bracket here that's riveted like an angle iron, nothing underneath, so we missed that. There should be a plate there as well, so we're gonna make that. But the strange thing is, this one has a hexagonal bolt, and the ones in there, they have countersunk bolts. So that's a bit odd, but yeah, it is what it is. And then I need a bracket with 3 holes in a triangular pattern over there, and a few extra rivets there, and as well as at the bottom in front. And let's go to the other side. This is, by the way, the maximum elevation. Let's turn up the light a bit. And you can see it's barely touching the floor. It's just missing it, and if you would see that as the floor of the Nashorn, it would only have room for about 30 centimeters of recoil, but the floor is about 40 centimeters lower, so there's still plenty of room for the recoil. And down there you can see the stop for the elevation, and it's touching it. So again, here 2 bolts, plenty of room for drilling. This bracket and the one below there, it will contain the gear for elevation. And then you see behind the brick the hole, that's for the gear itself that will touch the gear that's in that bracket, and for driving it. This is not working well. It's moving very lightly now with this support, so there's less weight on the front wheels. So I have to clamp it down on the sides as well. So I have some steel wedges. I'll put them in the side, so it cannot move from side to side anymore. Otherwise we'll push it away and then it might fall down. And of course you don't want that to happen. Let's check the measurement for the bottom side. Of course, I have to be really careful with the support here that I don't bump it and get the entire part on my head. I guess it will hurt a lot. I'm going to take an extra drill, extra size, to make it easier. Now for these holes I have to search for different length bolts because these are just a bit too short. Since this material, the bracket at the bottom is a bit thicker. And if you have the hole for the split pin or cotter pin too close to the edge, it's very difficult to drill. And it also can break out easily. So the coming week I will go to the store to find some. And hopefully I can find some crown nuts as well. Next side. So I need these 4 holes in the back as well. But first I'm gonna drill 6 holes here with this bracket in. So I finish the bottom side while it's up now. And then I do the rest. So I have some more marking to do here. The gun we measured, I think it was about from here till about here. This entire plate was replaced, so yeah, we don't know if there should be more rivets. But for now we do what we know and we check pictures from other Nashorns and see if we can see more. And yeah, the plan is to go to the US and to Russia for measuring at those 2 Nashorns to see what we missed. Since it's difficult to put a square on here, and this is a bit of an angle, so I measure it twice and then put a ruler in between. So it's just beyond this rivet, this plate was replaced. So it might be that there is a few more. I have to check pictures and then I have to drill these holes. Is just in the bracket, but I have to drill through the sled. And then I have to change this angle iron. It's 60, but it needs to be 48. It will go behind here. And then I think, yeah, that should be it. No, there's a few rivets on the side as well. 3 per side. So to make sure that I drill the correct ones, put a circle around it. And I forgot one here. So yeah, it's always good to double check. So as I mentioned before, when you drill holes that are already in one part, use the same size of drill to drill a little divot, and then you have a center point to drill the rest. And then I try to drill from the inside. As for the front holes here, 2 holes I have to completely drill from the bottom side. So, well, that's not really a big problem. This bracket we found in measuring that we were missing that, so we'll need to be here. I put an extra brace in so we can take this one out. But of course the wooden block was a lot safer than this, but yeah, if I'm careful it's okay. So I have to put it in here, clamp it down, and then yeah, the same thing with drilling. So marking out the last few holes of all the brackets that we have now. Probably still, well, I need one more bracket, but I need to make it for the for this side, but that will be done later. So that's it for this video. Got all the brackets on that I want on. I need one more bracket here, but I still need to make it, and that will be done after this part is placed inside the Nashorn. It's a bolt-on part and we can reach the bolt from the back. So next thing is milling the 2 parts, the barrel clamps that need to come on. So I hope you like this video. If you do and you're not subscribed yet, please subscribe. It helps the channel. Thumbs up, and click the notification bell to keep informed on future videos. I'm gonna put some of the paint on the base and on the gun deck, so you can more easily see the difference between the parts I'm working on. When installing these parts, this part will come out, and also the base will be taken off the gun deck. We have some original pictures, and it was also done in that order, maybe because the gun deck stayed in place, we don't know, but we know they first took the elevation part with the gun off and then the base with the shield. So in order to recreate those pictures a little bit, we're gonna do the same. Thinking if I should paint this as well, because it's already finished. Also an advantage of leaving the blocks off for the maximum 15 degrees. I can paint underneath now, and because I can swivel it more. You don't pick out the hairs when it's still wet. You do it later. You can see, you can see it forever. So make sure you get all the hairs out. And for this, it's not a paint job like for a house, but you still want it somewhat neat. The way we are painting is what we know that the Germans also did when they are painting by hand. Not sure why they did it like this. Maybe because then it's the surface is a bit rougher, and then the paint is also less shiny. But maybe you know, so let me know in the comments. So it needs a second coat, but that will be done just prior to installation, because then we have the major components apart anyway.